Hello world, Shelly here, and it is Foundation Fest Day 5, where I do 5 days in a row of foundation reviews. Can you believe we are wrapping up another one? I am going to stick to the high end because there have been so many drugstore new releases that I have been covering in my recent Friday foundation fixes. You can catch that playlist down below and get all my foundation reviews. So today I'm going to keep it on the high end and take a look at the Japanese brand KOH, and this is the Aqua foundation. I've got this in the lightest shade 112. On Sephora's website, they list 7 different shades, but on KOH's website, there are 3 more deeper shades, so there are 10 altogether. This retails for $66, and you get 1.01 fluid ounces of product. 1 fluid ounce is pretty standard for a foundation jar, so don't go crazy with that extra 0.01 fluid ounces. The reviews on Sephora's website, it gets 4.4 out of 5 stars with 362 reviews. It's described as a high-definition, long-wearing mineral foundation formulated with minerals from the deep waters of Bretagne. I'm saying it wrong. I'm not good at that whole geography thing. Botanical emollients and extracts. Skin conditioning foundation smooths and covers imperfections while feeling weightless and comfortable. Has no parabens, no sulfates, no phthalates. It's cruelty-free, does not contain artificial colors, no fragrance, and no mineral oil. So that is what they've got to say. It is said to be a dewy and luminous coverage, and we will see how this works. For packaging, we've got a really pretty glass bottle. It's super smooth and it just looks really just sort of minimalist and classy. Plastic top, we've got a pump on the inside, good stuff, plastic pump. I like pumps because they keep your product cleaner. You don't dip your paws into it and get it all grubby. There's no bacteria getting in there, things like that. And I like that you can measure out how much foundation you are applying at one time. So, you know, when I have a foundation that I use regularly, I'll know, like, this one I need 1 3/4 pumps for my whole face, or 2 pumps for my whole face, or, you know, whatever it is. And it's just easier to measure out when you've got a pump. I love me a pump. Let's take a look at this foundation swatched against some others in this price range in my collection. First up is today's foundation, the KOH Aqua Foundation in shade 12. Next up is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid in shade NW10. Third is the Estee Lauder Stay in Place Double Wear, that is in shade 1C1 Cool Bone. Fourth up is Smashbox Studio Skin in shade 1.0. And last we've got the Urban Decay All Nighter Foundation in shade 1.5. I found my cat ear headband. Also found new gray hair. As usual, I have already cleansed, moisturized, and sunscreened my face. I have primed using the Too Faced Hangover 3-in-1 primer. This is a replenishing primer slash setting spray, good for hydration. We are starting out here with dry skin. It is winter time, so my skin is at its driest. 43 years old, I've got some sunspots that I like to cover up. I have fine lines around my mouth, around my under eye, my crow's feet, my forehead. I have enlarged pores, primarily this area right here, but I also have them on my chin. I also have them between my eyebrows. My nose occasionally gets polka dot pores, though it's been pretty cooperative skincare-wise lately. So that is what we are dealing with starting out. And as usual, I'm going to go in on one side of my face with a sponge. This is the EcoTools Total Perfecting Blender Sponge. Now has a cat tooth mark in it. And on the other side, I will use a brush. This is my Clarisonic foundation brush head. I love this brush. I know that not everybody has it, so I don't use it in all my reviews, but I do use it sometimes because it really is the best brush in terms of how foundation looks when a brush works well on my face. So that's what we're gonna do for today. Let's see what we got going on here. 2 pumps. I always start out with 2. You know, medium consistency, I would say. I would say we're getting very light coverage on one pass with the sponge, but it is a beautifully smooth looking finish. It is, I think, improving the texture of my skin and improving my pores just a little bit at this point. Pretty minimal coverage. I would say this is very light coverage. Let's see how the brush looks. would say we are at a nice light medium coverage with the brush. I think I have even a little bit more blurring of texture and pores going on with the brush, but honestly I think both sides look very nice. If you have a preference, sponge or brush, it'll just be personal preference and whether you want more coverage or less. I have a tiny bit of product left on my palette from where I started, so I'm going to use that on this side of my face to kind of even out the coverage a little bit. If you like this palette, go on my Amazon web store. It's amazon.com/shop/geekoutofwater, and I've got it on there. It's about $6 and some change. This looks really pretty. I think we are at a nice light medium coverage. I don't know that we can really build it up any more than that. It's doing a nice job at smoothing texture. It is smoothing pores and blurring them just a bit. My nose looks very smooth. It's settling just the tiniest bit into my forehead lines, not settling into my smile wrinkles yet. I think the color match is good. It might be a smidge too light for me, although my neck is shadowed the way these lights come down on me. So in real life, it looks pretty doggone close. We will of course do a daylight check-in later so that you can see what this looks like out in natural lighting. But so far, I think this is a really pretty finish, a very easily blendable formula, and I don't think it's super dewy. It's a nice luminous sort of finish. I have nice highlight and reflection coming off the skin, but it looks really natural to me. I'm not a huge fan of a dewy finish, so I don't like to look like I'm sweating. So this does not look like I'm sweating. I think it's really pretty at this point. So let's call the check-in time. It's 11:38 right now. Let's call it 11:40, and I will be right back with the rest of my face on. I'm like dodging the sun. Alrighty, I am back. Everything blended out just fine on top of this foundation. I ended up not setting it with a powder because it just seemed to set itself down really nicely, and I didn't think I was going to have any trouble blending, and I didn't have any trouble blending, so that went very well. I also feel like my skin feels a little bit dry. Now, this being a dewy, luminous kind of foundation, I wasn't expecting to feel dry right out of the gate. I do have pretty dry skin, but I did pretty well moisturize this morning. So I also didn't want to add powder on top of dryness just in case the foundation is a little bit drying on me. So that is where we're starting out there. It is settling into lines a little bit. I have tapped out my forehead lines and my smile lines and my chin lines a couple of times, and so far it has not started settling back, but we will see how that goes throughout the day. Now on the rest of my face, I have the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. My blush is the Becca Mineral Blush in Flower Child. I'm wearing the Hourglass Ambient Strobe Highlight in Incandescent. My eyes, I'm actually filming a showdown between the new Wet n Wild Rose in the Air eyeshadow palette and the beloved Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow palette. Can you tell which eye is which? That video will be coming up. And my lip is one of the new Milani Amore lip creams. This is the Amore Shine, and it is in the shade 03 Crush, and it is freaking beautiful. My mascara is Maybelline Total Temptation, and that's where we're starting out. So I will be back in a couple hours with a daylight check-in, then I will come back at the end of the night. We will see how everything wore, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Hey guys, daylight check-in here, and we are at almost the 6-hour mark, and I would say everything's looking pretty good. This color match looks nice. Wintertime, I always look really pink, which is really frustrating. I'm trying to get good lighting here because if I step too far out, the light is directly on me, and I don't want that. So here we are. Everything still looks nice. I've had a close-up look at it. Not much has changed. It is still a just slightly luminous finish, which I like. It's just enough of a luminous finish, and so far so good. I will be back tonight with a final check-in. Good evening, my friends. It is 7:59 p.m. and if I remember correctly, we started at 10:40 this morning, or was it 11:40 this morning? Let's see how the Kogendo Aqua foundation is holding up. Starting from the bottom, it's breaking up a little bit on my chin and a little bit around my mouth. It has worn off around my nostrils and sort of caked up just a little bit on that sort of dry skin I have around my nostrils. There is some wear off on my nose. Every place else looks pretty good. Everything still looks decently blurred. I don't think we've had any color shifting, no oxidation going on. It does feel slightly drying, and I do not feel that at the end of the day it is as luminous as it was midday. So I do think it is a slightly drying formula. I think it wore very nicely for an 8 to 9 hour time. It's just starting to break down at this point, which would be my typical, good wear foundation. I wouldn't call this an extra long wear foundation, but if I can get 8 to 10 hours out of it, that's what I expect of a typical wear out of a foundation that doesn't necessarily claim to be long wearing. So if I had to give a grade to the Kogendo Aqua foundation, what grade would I give it? Considering that the shade range is pretty bad, I'm gonna go solid B. This was a comfortable foundation to wear. The settling into lines was very, very minimal. It does look beautiful for most of the day. I get about average wear out of it. It's not exceptionally long wearing, but it does seem to degrade gracefully, but with a poor shade range and being slightly drying. Remember, my grades are grading it for dry, maturing skin. So considering that, we're gonna go solid B for the Kogendo. Kogendo. There you have it. Foundation Fest wraps up once again. I will have the playlist linked down below where all of my foundation reviews can be found. There are 60 plus at this point. And you can also check out my website where you can search all of my reviews and all of my notes and what I thought of each foundation. They're all ranked, and you can search just drugstore, just high-end, search them all, whatever you would like. It's all on my website, geekoutofwater.com. Thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to geek out over makeup with me. I appreciate it. We'll be back to our normal schedule next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys all have an awesome day or night wherever you are in the world. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.